And we're joined now by former Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism at Homeland Security in the Biden administration and CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd, as well as A.T. Smith, also a CBS News contributor and former Secret Service Deputy Director. What do we know about the security perimeter exactly here and what went wrong?
Well, obviously, the number one problem, the most glaring question to be asked is, how did this individual make it to the roof of that building with a long rifle, an AR-15 type rifle, apparently? The Secret Service plan has three concentric rings of security, an inner perimeter, a middle, and an outer. And the counter sniper team is responsible for that outer perimeter up to 1,000 yards. And so it's their responsibility to pan out and watch all of that and look for the sort of thing that occurred yesterday.
So did the Secret Service have adequate time to prepare for this rally? I understand this Butler, Pennsylvania location had been used before by the Trump campaign.
Yes, they did have an adequate amount of time. I spoke to my sources at the Secret Service, and this was like any other planned advance. They were there, several days in advance, so there was no short notice or anything like that.
Our sources are telling us at this time that this individual was not known to law enforcement. We do know what his name is. We know his general biographic information. But at this point, authorities have indicated there's no nexus to terrorism and he had no law enforcement background. At the same time, Margaret, it is worth noting that the intelligence community has warned for years about the threats posed by lone actors and small groups of individuals. Lone actors are historically very difficult to detect because they operate alone, aren't in communication with others, and so the investigation will take time. At the same time, there is a need for the investigation to be as transparent as possible. There are already conspiracy theories percolating about what was behind this horrific assassination attempt, and that is why we saw the FBI and state police brief last night and try to provide whatever information they have as soon as possible.
Should Americans feel safe this morning?
Mass gatherings, as well as high-profile activities and sites, are the most likely targets for these sorts of events.
And yet, A.T., we are in a campaign season. Outdoor mass gatherings, indoor mass gatherings, they are bread and butter of political campaigns. Your colleagues, your former colleagues at the Secret Service, what are they thinking right now?
The FBI is the lead agency with this particular incident, and they will do a thorough investigation. And, again, I've said all along, nobody is harder on themselves than the Secret Service. Yes.
They called it an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security and that was rebuffed. They called it absolutely false. And in fact, they had added protective resources, technology, and capabilities. What do we understand happened here?
In terms of their assets?
The Secret Service is being accused of not providing resources that were requested, and the Secret Service says that's false.
That is untrue. It is true that a request was made some time ago, and the Secret Service addressed that request. And I can tell you, based on what they told me this morning, the former president is getting basically the same assets that the sitting president gets, maybe without a couple of classified things that go on. But for the most part, he is getting the same level of security that the sitting president gets. And an example of that is the counter sniper team that was there, as well as the counter assault team that was there. And you saw them respond to protect, in essence, the agents when they had the former president on the ground.
And Sam, this is unusual, but for the agency to come out and swat down an untruth, they have to be concerned about rumors like this. And frankly, some lawmakers were alleging things like this.
Well, intelligence and law enforcement is concerned about the role that conspiracy theories could play in inciting further violence. At the same time, I will say, worked hand in hand with the Secret Service. They are ideologically agnostic. The focus here should be on investigating whether there were intelligence failures that led the Secret Service to miss a threat and or operational failures that did not allow the Secret Service to establish a perimeter that helped secure the protectee. But the Secret Service is ideologically agnostic, and conspiracy theories can only add to the heightened threat environment at this time.